When Bill and I arrived on one island, we headed straight for the Pokémon Center to meet his friend Celio, the PC maniac. Apparently, he'd been having trouble linking the PCs on the Sevii Islands to Bill's system, making it impossible to transfer Pokémon. Bill said he could get it working and asked me to run an errand for him in the meantime. He asked me to deliver a meteorite to another one of his maniac friends on 2 Island, and Celio gave me a tri-pass to board the ferry and travel between 1, 2, and 3 Island. And so I headed off to meet the rock maniac on 2 Island. After healing up Shirahorshi and Gyomei, I'm totally not an irresponsible trainer who would forget to heal my Pokemon before going on a new adventure. It was only after arriving on 2 Island that I realized I forgot to ask where to find the rock maniac, and after asking around, I found out about a woman on the Cape who apparently gives the eye to Pokemon. She sounded interesting, and I decided that I would visit her a little later. The rock maniac was the owner of the local game corner, so I went over to deliver the meteorite, but when I got there he was pacing up and down in a panic, asked me if I'm a friend of someone named Lostel, and then told me to go look for her on 3 Island. Before I could tell him I had no idea who he was talking about, a biker barged in and started throwing insults about the place and complaining about 3 Island. The owner told him in a not-so-kind way that he was on the wrong island, and then sent the biker on his way. That interaction seemed to calm down the man's panic, and he asked me nicely and calmly to look for his daughter at his house on 3 Island. I felt bad for the guy, so I headed off to find Lostel. As soon as I got to 3 Island, I saw more bikers. I decided to ignore them for now and went straight to the house to look for Lostel, but she wasn't there. I figured I could ask around town, but found a group of bikers surrounding 2 locals who clearly could not defend themselves. And so I got the attention of the bikers and went into battle with them. I sent out Shota, who had no trouble with the 3 goons who stepped up to battle with me, and he body slammed his way to 3 very easy victories. The 3rd guy then called the boss forward, and his Pokemon were a little tougher. His lead Weezing survived a psychic and then flew straight into Shota's face to self-destruct. Thankfully, Shota was able to stay on his feet, and as the biker boss sent out his muck, I had Shota use rest to heal up, and then covered my ears as he began to snore so loudly, even the muck began to flinch at the vibrations. Once Shota woke up, he finished off the muck with a body slam, and that was enough to scare off the bikers from the island. The 2 locals were thankfully unharmed, and they had seen Lostel head towards Bond Bridge recently. So I went to heal up my Pokemon and continued my quest to find Lostel. Seriously, why did this man name his child Lostel? It's like he was asking for this to happen. Anyways, I crossed over Bond Bridge and then met a lady who told me to keep going forward to find Berry Forest, the place where Lostel goes every day. It was a pretty straight path to the forest, but it still had me questioning how safe it was for a little kid to be wandering around this far from home without a Pokemon by her side. I made my way through the dark forest easily enough, and in the very depths of it, I found Lostel, who had been abducted by a wild Hypno. The Hypno seemed desperate to get Lostel back, and I guess that it was probably because the Hypno felt lonely being the only one of its kind in the forest. I thought that maybe someone had abandoned it in there, and not wanting it to abduct another friend, I decided to catch him and I gave him the name Django. Even though Lostel was still a bit confused from the effect of Django's hypnosis and speaking in the 3rd person, she was willing to come with me, and I took her to see her dad on 2 Island. Along with returning Lostel to him, I also gave him the meteorite Bill wanted me to give to him, and he gave me a moonstone in return. With my little adventure complete, I decided to head back to 1 Island. But just before I got on the ferry, I remembered the old lady on the Cape I wanted to go visit. And so I made my way to her house and realized that she was a psychic of some sort. She was very excited to see Victor, claiming that he was the Pokemon she'd been waiting to meet, and offered to teach him an ultimate move. I agreed, and she taught Victor the move Frenzy Plant. I thanked her and then headed back to 1 Island. When I got back to the Pokémon Center, I realized that Bill and Celio had already fixed the issue with the PCs and were apparently waiting for me to return so that Bill and I could return to the main part of Kanto. Once back on Cinnabar Island, Bill told me that I could use the tri-pass to get a ferry back to the Sevii Islands from Vermilion City, and then headed off to do whatever it is that Pokemaniacs do. After being away for so long, I'd almost forgotten that I'd given my fossil to the scientist to be revived, and so I headed off to the lab to collect my Pokemon. He did scold me a little for being gone for so long, but then handed over my new Pokemon, Kabuto, who I named Yoru. With that, I was finally able to leave Cinnabar Island and went to Viridian City, where the gym leader had finally returned, meaning I was just a few steps away from winning my final gym badge and taking on the Elite Four. My nerves definitely got the better of me, and I almost forgot to heal my Pokemon, but I finally pulled it together and then entered the final gym.